practice and we lose sight of the forest through the trees because life takes over. And um, I joke all the time. I actually heard this on Saturday when I was adjusting, and somebody answered the phone and they were like, I'm at the chiropractor. Can I call you back? And the first time I heard somebody say that, I was like dumbfounded that they didn't say I'm at Jody's office. I was dumbfounded that I was just the chiropractor. And they've gotten used to their experience with me. They've gotten used to my office, and I am just the chiropractor, and I'm on the to-do list for the day. And knowing that right sizes me. But the other thing that that does is it reminds me of how important it is that I stay connected to the fact that I only have one chance to make a first impression. So I'm actually going to read to you guys from this book, Staff List. This is absolutely my favorite part of this book because I think it's funny and it's a true story. So if you have the book, this is on page 30, 31. It's called The Cold Hard Chair Weight. And I want to set the stage for what I want you to never do. I want to set the stage for the purpose of this training being that this is the thing that you don't do. Since as far back as I can remember, I've hated going to the doctor's office, the cold, hard chairs, the shiny floor, the irrelevant pictures on the walls, the ladies behind the glass window who look at you like you're bothering them just by breathing. And the smell, oh man, the smell, like every toxic cleaner out there was poured into a bucket and smeared aimlessly all over the floor with a moldy, dirty rag. Yep, you know that smell. Sometimes I have to go. I have to go do my grown-up visits at my grown-up doctor's appointments. Here's the way this usually goes down. I walk in, I'm hit with the smell. The lights are so bright and noisy, my eyes already hurt. There are three other women in the waiting room. They look annoyed. They've been there for a while. For how long? I don't know. Is their appointment time before mine? Am I going to be that annoyed in 30 minutes when I'm still sitting there? I walk up to the counter to not be greeted by a grumpy lady sitting behind a desk that has very clearly never been fitted for her. It's too high and she is too little and the chair is too big. But what do I know? I'm just a chiropractor. She looks up at me, slides open the wall of glass separating us, takes a sip of her Diet Coke, yes, it's 10 a.m., and says, insurance card and license, please, in the most annoyed voice possible. Like I'm wrong for being there. Like there is no wait. And like I am not paying, and she is not loving me in that moment. Did I do something wrong? Maybe I have body odor? No hello or good morning or sorry for the wait, nothing. Yep, I'm a wise ass. So my response is going to be something like, oh, good morning, and how are you? Usually provoking a smile which cracks the code for some human banter and connection. The truth is, I'm probably the first person who has asked her how she is doing all morning. The truth is, she's probably a lovely person and totally overworked, underpaid, and not appreciated, probably. Then the wait, the awkward sit on the cold, hard chair with the water-stained magazines that are 6 months old and the sounds of the door opening and closing to watch 3, 4, 5 more clients go through the same rotation to the cold, hard chair. They join me in the awkward silence. Everything in me wants to start chatting, bring joy to the room, pop a huge bubble, the huge bubble of silence. Maybe I should start singing a show tune like on the top of my lungs. This could be a chance to lift their day, share some joy, crack some people up. Maybe I should even tell them about chiropractic. But I don't. I sit, I wait, I think about all the funny things I could be saying in this very awkward moment. When I finally get called in to see the doctor, I'm greeted with another 20-minute wait. Only for this wait, I'm in a gown, half naked. The room I'm in is smaller than my closet, and the door is closed. Did I mention that I don't like small spaces? My ass is stuck to the paper that covers the cold exam table. I feel like a lab rat, and if possible, it smells even worse in here. So, how much of this do we think about when we're setting the stage for our new practice members? Practice members come to us with expectations. Most of them are expecting what I just read to you because they're coming to another doctor or another healthcare practitioner, and this is what they're used to. This is what they've experienced if they are at a traditional medical practice in the United States. I'm not sure about the Canadian medical offices if they're the same way, but it's pretty bad here. And I was actually talking to people in my gym about this yesterday, how you you go to one one station and it takes like 10 minutes of paperwork to get to the next station to get another 10 minutes of paperwork to maybe another station, and then you get like 2 minutes with the doctor, and then it's like a $500 bill or $1,000 bill. What I want to see for the members of our community is the opposite of that experience. I want your practice members to know from the very beginning that you've thought of everything. So, my ask of you is to either have a dear friend who's never been to your office before, who seems to be that guy who's kind of picky, like they take 10 minutes to order a meal at most restaurants, have them come over to your office and give them permission to speak candidly. Give them permission to criticize the dickens out of your practice and don't say anything. That's the only way that you're going to be able to see it from an outsider's point of view looking inward. I could look at the same room with my teenage son and I could see messes everywhere where he thinks it's clean. We're both looking at the same thing. We both absolutely 100% pledge to honesty that what we're seeing, he's seeing clean and I'm seeing a mess. What you see in your office, you've got filters on, guys. You've got blinders on. So some people experience the world through their sense of smell. And for those people, if your office smells like crap, if your office smells, I went to a new doctor's office last week and it smelled moldy. And I'm one of those people who moves through the world based on my sense of smell. If I walk into a hotel room and somebody has been smoking in it in the past month, they have to change my room because I'm that sensitive to it. So if someone comes to your office and their sense of smell is their primary sense, you have to make sure that the sense is, no pun intended, but vanilla enough for them. You have to make sure that if there is something that could be interpreted as perfume, that it's very somewhere in the middle. You have to make sure that there is no mold smell, which only a certain percentage of people can smell. But if you can smell mold, it's the only thing that you can think about in the space that you're in. The sense of smell is so, so important. I'm a huge fan of Nag Champa, the incense, and I have pregnant people in my practice and they hate smelling incense. So you know what? I look at my schedule. If a pregnant person's coming in on that day, I don't burn my incense because it's their experience, especially if they're a new practice member. One chance to make a first impression, one chance, and you can't take it back. You can't go back and say, oh, let me do that again. No, no, no. There's one chance. So that's the sense of smell. And generally speaking, and I actually talk about this in this book too. Generally speaking, with the sense of smell, citruses are the most neutral. So if you have like a tangerine or a lemon, most people like that kind of smell. Find somebody who's mold sensitive, and if you're in an older building, and have them tell you whether or not it smells like mold in your office. I can smell mold like that. My husband is in the same space. He doesn't smell anything. Sense of taste. Some people move through the world, and the first thing that they think when they walk into a space is, where's the food? Because it's just always on their mind. One of my earliest memories is when I was 6 years old. I used to go to the doctor as a little kid, and they would do their thing, and I would be okay with them doing their thing if I got the lollipop. And there was a container of lollipops on the counter, like red 40 lace lollipops. But I remember saying to my mom, like, I'm okay with going to the doctor as long as I get the lollipop. I was very guided by the sense of taste when I was a little kid. I was always eating. So, for the people who are guided by the sense of taste, it's lovely to have something in your office where that's what they think about. They think about the ginger chews or the peppermints, or I have a couple of people in my office who the first thing they do is they go to the snack cabinet, especially the kids, man. The kids are so, so guided by their sense of taste. So, make sure that we have snacks in our office that are relevant to, that are healthy, that are that represent our message about being healthy and being mindful of what we put in our body, what we put on our body. And there are all kinds of ideas out there that you can get little boxes of raisins, you can get kind bars. I love that idea. It really depends on your philosophy and the way that you practice. So that's taste, smell, sight. I think it's important that we do like a refresher or a once over a couple times a year on our practice. I actually did this last week where I look around and I say, what's no longer relevant? In the book, The Joyful Practice Plan, I have an exercise in there called Three Boxes, where you basically walk around with three empty cardboard boxes and you fill them up. You do this once a quarter, you seal them, and you put in there the things that you haven't touched in the past 90 days. Like I had photos that I no longer felt were relevant. I even found a Christmas card that was still out. So I took all the stuff, I put it in the boxes if I wanted to keep it. I sealed up the boxes and I label them for what's in there. And then I mark my calendar for 3 months from now to go back to the boxes and do the whole thing all over. And the idea is there's always a new look to the office. There's always something fresh about the way that the office looks. I'm mindful of not putting on too much and not doing too little. My own personal belief is no politics, vaccines, or religion on my walls. I have in the past put my opinions about different topics, hot topics on my walls and really offended people. And I had to hold that up to my truth and say, is it worth the offense moment? Is it worth a moment of making somebody feel like they're not welcome in my office because of my personal opinions and beliefs about certain things? And the answer for me was no. So that's a look in the mirror and ask the question kind of thing, where are the things on your wall still relevant to your message of your practice? And if they are, awesome. If they're not, revisit this often. I think it's also really important that once every 5 years or so, we paint the walls of our office. We do a fresh coat. Um, Maybe don't put anything on the walls and then do one thing at a time and keep it there for a couple of weeks and then do the next thing to really simplify and clear the space. So that's the site. The other thing about site is we want to make sure that there's no creative demand when somebody walks into the office and where do they sit? Where do they put their bag down? Where's the bathroom? There's something that I ate before I logged on and I'm choking on it. So that's the sense of sight. Sound. This is an important one. There are kids in my office where if they hear, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear this, if they hear rhythm, that is the only thing that they're going to be able to focus on. They hear rhythm more than they feel rhythm. If if I'm trying to adjust them and I'm trying to connect with their nerve system and connect with the rhythm of their body, and they're hearing the rhythm of the drums on the music, or um, one of my friends has a practice who it's a music studio downstairs from her office and there are drum lessons during her adjusting hours. And I said to her, don't be open during the drum lessons, like make some kind of an agreement, because if you're really sensitive to rhythm, or if your practice members are really sensitive to rhythm, it's going to offshoot the rhythm of the experience of the adjustment or the session or the massage or whatever your work is. So be really sensitive when it comes to rhythms, to sounds, to musical preferences. Sometimes without thinking of it, I'll play religiously oriented music. I love listening to chanting. And if I have somebody who's very religious in a different sect, really, really committing their life to their religion, they come in and they hear that, they might be offended by it. So it's another thing to think about, what is as neutral as possible so that the first experience of the practice member is comfortable and congruent with my message every time. Another really good example of this is sometimes I'll bring my puppy Kuna to the office. And I have people who, in their religious belief, if they get kissed by a dog or licked by a dog, they have to go home and shower before they can pray. That's a pain to them. That's not bringing them joy. That's bringing them a headache, right? So I want to make sure that before I decide to bring Kuna to the office that day, I scan my schedule for those families where that's true for. So those are the things, those are the senses, right? Sense of taste, touch. I'm going to talk about touch in a minute. Sight, sound, smell, touch. Um, I think it's really important, and this is the kind of thing, like if I'm working with students at an adjusting seminar, I talk about this a lot. Um, it's really important that if we're touching, we give a heads up, hey, I'm just going to put my hands on your shoulders, or hey, I'm going to start with my hand on the small of your back. We give a heads up that that's going to happen. We also make a promise around the touch that we don't hurt people, or I'm going to place my hand on your lower back and I promise I'll never hurt you. If that's a concern, let it go. If your care has a tendency to be heavy-handed, or if there are surprises to your care, like if you're a chiropractor and you do structural work, give a heads up. We're going to talk about it before we do anything. So that, because if they're lying on your table like this because they're afraid, and I would be that guy, I would be lying on the table like that based on my history and my experience, it's going to be a lot harder to serve their system neutrally than if they were relaxed and trusting your care. This is just one other thing. I learned this from Jeannie Ohm, who for many years was one of my mentors in how to serve kids, how to take care of kids. She was the queen of the ICPA for a long, long time. And she said, whenever I'm about to serve a kid, ask for their permission first. Not the parents' permission, ask the kid for their permission. Even if it's a newborn baby, ask for permission. So these days, if a kid, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old comes into my office and I ask permission, hey, is it okay if I count your bones? Or hey, is it okay if I make sure your belly button's still there, right? Like I'll do it in a way that they can integrate the concept. If the answer is no, I don't do it. And it could totally piss parents off, but I'm not gonna adjust a kid unless the kid gives me permission. Usually, and it happens maybe 1 out of 100 times they'll say no, and usually there's a really good reason for it, and I honor and respect that. So there are other little things like when a new practice member is coming in, my rule of thumb is that they're always greeted within 3 seconds of opening the door. And I don't have anybody in my office, so I need to get creative about that, right? I needed to set up my office so that I could see over a half wall if somebody had just walked in. I also keep a bell on my door, so when the door opens, I hear it. So I'm able to say, hey, I'm so happy you're here. I'll be with you in a couple of minutes. Get comfy. There are seltzers in the fridge. Um, if there's a way that you can do it, if you don't have somebody sitting at your front desk, make sure that within 3 seconds of them coming in, somebody's greeting them. They're not just sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Um, I also love the idea of if you have a community-based practice, like if there's more than one person there at a time, introduce your practice members to each other. You guys, everybody is lonely. Everybody wants connection. Your practice members are not excluded in that. So if you have a pediatric practice, introduce your moms and dads to each other. If you have a dental office and you take care of mostly teenagers, introduce the kids to each other. They happen to be there at the same time, the same place, getting the same kind of service. There's a coincidence to that, and it's important that we honor it. Okay, so zoom out, go broad strokes on the new patient experience. Ask a friend who's really picky, who takes 10 minutes to order at a restaurant, what they really think of your office, especially if they've never been there before. Find somebody, if you're in an older building, who can pick up smells of like mold, perfume, things like that. That's another thing. If you have a new practice member experience, don't be shy to ask them to not wear perfume to their visit. Because again, if you're really smell sensitive and somebody was just there and they had perfume on, it's the only thing that you can focus on. It's such a distraction to people who are smell sensitive. So those are the first patient or the first the first visit experiences I wanted to bring to your attention today. If anybody has questions, go ahead and drop them in wherever it is that you're watching this, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream. For those of you watching on Facebook, go make the world better with great care.